So today we are looking at Microsoft Office PowerPoint. Just in case you don't know how to open any program, PowerPoint inclusive, on the system, we go to the Start button here and click. Then after clicking on the Start button, we have the Start menu, out of which we have the most used app and then all other apps arranged alphabetically. So for my case, I have PowerPoint arranged it's available on the first menu. In case it's not here, what we do is, in case it's not here, what we do is to go through the list downwards, okay? Or we can even just search and have it come very fast without having to waste a lot of time. Okay, so you can see it's as simple as that. So for my case, let me go with the first option of just clicking on the Start button and then clicking on PowerPoint. After clicking on PowerPoint, I'm going to use PowerPoint 2019 from Microsoft Office 2019. So we are presented with this dashboard, just like we've been seeing in MS Word. We have the recent presentations. We can browse for other presentations that have been opened on the computer before, and we can as well open those that have not been opened but are somewhere on maybe a disk on the computer. Alternatively, we don't need to open an existing document file. We can as well choose to either work with templates, just like you can see on the screen. A template is a pre-designed file from which we can just put what we need to do. If not, we can as well start with a blank presentation. Now, what is Microsoft Office PowerPoint? When you talk about PowerPoint, it is a presentation software, and a presentation software refers to a software that is used to address an audience electronically, just like I'm doing right now electronically. What's so beautiful about electronic presentation? You are able to attract the attention of the audience by having visual, audio-visual representation of what you are trying to talk about. So the audience is able to follow with you as you are presenting. There are so many other examples of presentation software. Among which, for example, if you are using internet without Office installed, we can talk about, for example, let me go to Google. When you go to Google, Google has a number of apps. So when you go to, right now I'm on Google page, the home page, and on the home page, you can see that we have this option here, Google Apps. Among which, if I may scroll through and navigate, I have Slides, Google Slides. So Google Slides is another version of PowerPoint, okay? It's another product which does exactly what PowerPoint does. We have, if I'm not using Google Slides, for example, if I'm using Open Office, we have another version again. It is called Presentation, Open Office Presentation, okay? So there are so many other examples we can think of, but for our case, our interest is in MS PowerPoint. Now that we have PowerPoint open, let's move on and try to navigate through the screen first. Among other things, first of all, we talked about the ribbon previously in MS Word. We talked about the quick access toolbar. We talked about the tabs on the ribbon, just like you can see these ones, such as file, home, insert, design, transitions, animations, slideshow, etc. We talked about the title bar. Okay, so by now you can see the title bar. What's in the title bar? Then we talked about the commands on the ribbon. For example, you can see where I'm on the home tab, I have these tabs, these commands such as paste, all these other features you can see on the screen. Then if I may scroll through then we talked about the display options on the ribbon. And afterwards, we also talked about, when you look at the ribbon again, the tabs, you will find that there are those specific tabs that we are seeing for the first time, which we didn't see in MS PowerPoint. For example, we have transitions, we have animations, we have slideshow. So these tabs are not present in Word, meaning that alone is able to show us that there are specific tasks that we can only do in PowerPoint and not in any other application. When you look at this screen again, in MS Word, we saw the layouts we have, such as print layout. We talked about the web layout and others. So in PowerPoint, these are the different layouts we have. For example, we have normal view, what we call views in the PowerPoint. We have slide sorter, we have reading mode, and then slideshow mode. Okay. Then, having looked at that, we have so while I'm in slide sorter, by the way, the default layout is the normal view, is the one I'm in right now. So with normal view, I'm able to see the main slide in the working window. And then on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm able to see the slides that I have with their slide number. So currently, as I speak now, I have just one slide within my presentation. Then the file name in the title bar, you can see that it's reading presentation 1. Just like we saw in MS Word, we were working with documents. Hence, the file name that is default was document 1. Documents are text. In the PowerPoint, you are working with slides, with the presentation. So a file created in MS PowerPoint or a file created in a presentation software it's a presentation. Okay, it's a presentation. So you can say I have presentation 1 since I'm working with presentations. Then when I save this file, where you are seeing presentation 1, the file name I will give to it will come here where you're seeing presentation 1. So this is the working space in MS PowerPoint. Please, once you get a challenge, once you get lost, raise up your hand. I've turned off your microphone. Some people are misbehaving. So raise up your hand. I'll be able to allow you to speak and raise your issues. Don't keep quiet, please. So they're asking us, this is the first slide, and by default, the first slide in MS PowerPoint is a title slide. That is the layout for the first slide in MS PowerPoint. So they're asking us to add a title and then a subtitle. So let's add a title. We're going to call our document, our presentation, maybe Introduction to Presentation Software. Okay. So that's the file, that's the title I've given to my presentation. Then subtitle, let me call it overview. Now that I'm done, you can even insert, since it's the title page, it's even centered. Usually title pages are always centered in any, even when you're in MS Word, we expect, or it's expected that you center the contents on the title page. So let's move on. Now that I have this page, this slide created by default, I need to insert new slides. But before inserting new slides, I'll ask the members, if you had to compare this, the working space here in MS PowerPoint, if you had to compare it with MS Word, what do you see? You will find that in MS Word, we have a wider working area. We have more space to type, okay? Whereas in MS PowerPoint, we have limited working space. What does that mean? It means that PowerPoint is not meant for rumor mongering, okay? We are supposed to be as brief as possible and summarize whichever we are working with. Therefore, we don't need to type so much. We are supposed to summarize, because the PowerPoint presentation was made to show a summary, to show the power in the point we are trying to present. So let's move on. Now that you have seen that it's not meant for typing too much, yes, I have somebody. Simon, your hand is up. Can you let me allow you speak? Let me turn on your microphone. Can you speak, Simon? I've allowed you speak. Turn on your microphone. I've enabled your microphone. Turn on and speak. Simon? Simon, can you speak to me?
Sir. Sir.
Yes, can you speak, Simon?
What about if I want to create slides? Where should I go?
We are getting there. We are coming. We are getting there. So I'm turning off your microphones. Okay. So now that we are where we are right now, I was explaining the working space. Now, how about if you want to write too much? PowerPoint is not for too much typing. Okay, it's for summary. In other words, you find that maybe you have been tasked to do something and write a report. When you write a report, that report, it is expected that you write that report in MS Word, which is a word processor. Then if you are going to present that report to the audience, maybe your bosses or clients, whichever audience you are supposed to present it to, you are supposed to summarize. If you imagine you have a report of 100 pages, you can't present those 100 pages the way they are. You are supposed to summarize, pick out the key points. Because in most cases, for example, you have been given just 5 minutes, okay? So you can't present 100 pages of a report to the audience. So in case you find that there are certain things that you cannot go unmentioned, where you can't leave out, you need to have them maybe for your own personal consumption. If you may look at my screen down here, I have notes page. Actually, it was like this, something like this. But down here we have notes page. I guess you can see my screen down at the bottom here. This is where my cursor is, those that can't see. Okay, it's here, notes page. Once you click on notes page, you can start. Now I can be able to type down here the detailed information for my personal consumption. Maybe I want to provide some detailed information about something so that I can always refer to it for whichever reason it is. So here I can type as much as I want, just like you can see on my screen, okay? I can even write 10 pages down here, much as you're not able to see that the screen, the space is wide enough. But once I expand it, you'll be able to see that, yes, I've been typing something, just like you can see on my screen. So that's the notes page. And why you'll find that if you put too much information in the main screen, you find that time will come when you can't view anything, because the more you put, the more the size of the text becomes smaller. So that is it. Then now that we have seen the basics of PowerPoint, now let's look at how to insert slides. For us to insert slides, ladies and gentlemen, it is very simple. Either you can right click, for example, look at where my cursor is on the left hand side of the screen where the slides are. Once I right click, among the options is to insert a new slide. So you can see that I have 2 slides now in my presentation. I have 2 slides in my presentation. Then, how about if I don't use that option? When I go to the home tab, ladies and gentlemen, I think you can see my screen once again. Once you go to the home tab, among the options is new slide. So now I have 3 slides. That's how we insert new slides in the presentation. Now that we have our slides, let's look at first slide. You can see we have what we call layouts. When you look at my title slide, it was telling me click to add title, click to add subtitle. When I got the next slide, it's telling me click to add title, then click to add text. The same thing applies to all other slides that I'll be creating as we move. How about if I want to change this? Okay, we have layout on the home tab. So on the home tab, I'm able to change the layout of the slide. For example, yes, the first slide is title slide, like I said. You can see. If I want it to be like the title slide, I can just click on layout, then apply title slide. The second one is title and content, like we have seen. I can choose to have section head. I can choose to have 2 content, maybe one on the, I have one on the left, another on the right. I can have comparison. For example, if I'm comparing 2 objects, maybe if I'm comparing Word and PowerPoint, the different features, okay? I can look at maybe using this option called comparison. Title only, blank, content with caption. If in case I want to put, for example, pictures, I can maybe choose to have content and caption. Then picture with caption, okay? Let me choose comparison, for example, and see. So if I was looking at comparison, I would say comparison, I'll put my heading on top, comparison between Word and PowerPoint. Okay, then maybe this side I say this is Word, this side I say PowerPoint. After doing so, I can go ahead, maybe Word is like this, I type what Word is all about. Then on contrary, PowerPoint is like this. Okay. Then I move to the next point, I do the same thing. So in other words, it depends on what you want to do for you to be able to choose or to determine which layout you want to use. But by default, of course, the second slide and all other slides will be title and content, which is okay. Meaning you don't have to worry so much about the layout. Now that we have looked at the layout, let's go by title and content as the default layout. Let's go by title and content for all our. Then somebody will ask that, how about if, for example, what is on this page, it's not meant to be here. I want it to be maybe on the 5th slide, maybe on the 2nd slide, on the 1st slide. It is always possible to reorder these slides. How do you reorder the slides? You reorder the slides by just dragging and moving it to wherever you want it to be. Okay, you drag and then drop. So you can start, what was on number 3 is now position number 2. As simple as that. Then, of course, there are other options. For example, I can cut it out from wherever it is. I can copy it. I can duplicate it so that the same content is appearing on another slide, maybe below. I can delete the slide. I can do so many other things. I can format its background, etc, etc. Let me delete this slide. To delete the slide, like I said, right-click on it and select delete. Now that we've been able to look at the basics of PowerPoint, we can now create our slides and insert content. So I'm going to ask members to create about 10 slides, 10 to 15 slides. And after creating the 10 to 15 slides, let's put some content in those slides. I, for one, I'm going to use what I have with me here. So I will not create it, but I want members to create their own slides. Create slides. You can copy content from elsewhere if you're using a computer, okay? Get content from wherever you can on the computer by copy and paste. I expect that members are in the lab. Those without personal computers are in the lab because the lab belongs to us on Monday at 2 p.m. So create something. I want to give you about, I think let's use about 5 minutes to do that. So I'm going to pause. After the 5 minutes, we shall continue after members have typed something. So for my case, this is what I have in my. So let's move on. So having prepared our presentation, among other things, of course, we can, for example, insert objects, just like you can see on the insert. You can insert all what you are seeing, okay, on the insert tab. We can, among others, for example, we can add objects, we can add pictures, shapes, we can add 3D models, smart art, it is all these things, okay? We can add word art, we can add equations, we can add symbols, videos, audio, etc. Now, having added, for example, if it was a video, that means that once I get to the slide where I put my video, the audience will be able to see the video as well, okay? Playing the way they would have it on maybe somewhere on the media player, on any media player that is on the computer. Let's look at design. With design, you can change the appearance of the slide if we want. That's basically what's under design. Of the slide. You can see now I've removed the other designs that you've been seeing. Okay. Let me try clicking on each and every option. You can see how it changes based on which design theme I have selected. But my recommendation is that where possible, try as much as possible to maintain the original plain background. Why? Because sometimes find that, especially if you're going to project, you find that the colors sometimes are not friendly to the audience. Whereas if you have black and white, it is always more friendly to most people. Having looked at design, let me go back to my original presentation. Having looked at the design, I want us to also try looking at, yes, that's original design. So we have transitions. With transitions, transition by itself means change. Okay? How does change come is the question. Okay? How does change come is the question. For example, you watch TV. Something will come on the screen, something will go away from the screen. Then something else will show again. Okay? Politically, people have been talking about change as well. Transition from one regime to another. So in simple terms, we're looking at how the slide will come on the screen and how will it go. That is transition. Now that we have looked at transition, we can look at different transitions. Let's try applying different transitions and see how they will be. Okay? Let's try applying different transitions, meaning I can choose to apply a transition on just one slide. I can apply the same transition on more than one slide. For example, I have applied that, okay, curtain to my transition. I can say that, okay, maybe I want to apply the same to even another slide. Okay, meaning that's how I want the slides to come. You can say that, no, for this one, maybe I want, let me see, maybe I want fracture and apply it. So that's how the slide will come. You can say that for this one, number 4, I feel I should change so that you're able to attract, maybe to capture the attention of the audience. You can say that, no, for this one, let me apply, let me see, anything I want. Maybe I want peel. Let me look out for peel. Okay. And then I can also say that, no, I want to be consistent. Then I want to apply the same transition to all the slides. It is possible. Meaning I just get one slide, I apply a transition. Then after applying that transition, I click on apply to all. So whichever I'm working out in PowerPoint and I want it to apply to every slide. For example, if it's the animation, if it's the transition, anything, any editing that I've worked out, just click on apply to all. Then of course you can choose to say whether you want to, whichever slide that is coming on the screen, whether you want it to come with a certain sound in the background. But of course that is too childish. If you are addressing a young audience, maybe you can look out for such things that can attract their attention. But for a serious audience, it is not so much important always. Then duration and as transitions again, okay? Timing. If, for example, I've been given 5 minutes to speak, okay? So I can look out for I can time myself. I look at a slide and say that I think maybe 20 seconds are enough for this screen to show to be taken to the next slide automatically. So that's what timing is. You can set different times for different slides depending on the content. How much time do you think I need to present this? So that means after setting those timings, I don't need to touch the, once I run Slideshow, I don't need to touch the computer. I'll just be speaking. Then after the time elapses, the slide will automatically disappear and then next will show on the screen. So that's where the duration comes in. Yes, I think I've talked about all that. Now, animation. Animation is to do with the behavior of the objects on the screen. For example, I want this object here. Actually, let me go to the first slide. I want this piece of text here to behave in a certain way. Okay, so we have got different animation effects that we can, out of which we can choose. For example, let me give it zoom as the animation. Okay, so once I run Slideshow and I get to that object, okay, you can see how it has behaved. Let me apply a different transition to this object. Let me change the transition. Maybe shrink. We have random bars. We have wheel. All of these different. So you are dictating how you want the objects to behave when they are coming on the screen. Okay? As simple as that. Sometimes when it behaves in a certain way, even somebody who was dozing will have to look at it and see what is happening. That's why maybe we need to, among other things, it's one of the reasons that's why you need to animate some objects. So that people are able to focus on that specific object. Matters there is too much on the screen, but when it is animating, when it's animated, it means that when it's coming on the screen, people's attention or the attention of the audience will be captured and positioned to specifically that specific object. So I can apply different animations to different objects on the screen or on the slide, just like you have seen me doing. Then, having prepared our presentation and applied our animations, remember I talked about the major tabs. We have transition, animation, and then slideshow. What we are doing right now, we're in the kitchen. While you're in the kitchen, you are preparing food, but it's not consumed in the kitchen. It's supposed to go to the dining table. So for us to take the food to the dining table, for our case, since we're in PowerPoint, our dining table is the slideshow mode. Right now, I'm in an environment that is for editing the presentation. Once I go to slideshow, I'm now putting, by the way, in slideshow we have, for example, I can tell this system that please start running the slideshow from a specific point. While in slideshow, you are seeing these different slides on the left, and the tabs and the ribbon and the commands will not show. I'll only see the main contents. If you press F5 on the keyboard, okay, it's the shortcut for running the presentation in slideshow mode. If not so, if you don't press F5, we have on the status bar down here, we have this icon here that's this command which is talking about slideshow. So once I click on it, I'll automatically go to slideshow from the current slide. So the slide where my cursor is positioned or it is focused is where the slideshow mode will start. Whereas F5, if I'm using F5, of course, it starts from the first slide in the presentation. If I press Shift F5, it will still take me to the current, it will start from current presentation slide to go to slideshow mode. If I didn't use those buttons, I've already talked about the slideshow tab on the ribbon, which has all these options. Then besides that, if I may go back to is it design? Yes, design tab. You learn that among other things, I can as well format the background of the presentation and change the colors, change so many other things, which I will ask and task the members to try out. I know some people are doing this for the first time, but please, practice makes perfect. So please try as much as possible for you to be able to learn as much as you can. Okay, under transitions, I said to run transitions, first of all, to run slideshow mode, we can either use the F5 on the keyboard, or we can use the mouse. We have slideshow option on the status bar down there under the different views. So to move to the next slide, we use the space on the keyboard, the space bar. If not, we have those arrows down, up, left, and right. Okay, they are used to move. Now, with the transitions, for example, I want you to look at the slide that is coming. How it is coming? It's coming the way you do it. You raise your curtain. Okay, the way you lower your curtain, you raise or lower your curtain. That's the transition that I applied to my current slide. If I move on, so that's the transition that I put on the slide. If I move on, that's another transition I put. If I move on, that one is another transition, that is fracture. The way something is breaking, something that is breaking the way it looks like. Okay, that's what I applied to that slide. Once I move on, you can see that I put something like as if a flying bird. Okay, that's another transition that I applied. So the audience can be captured because of the effects you put. Even when somebody was trying to doze, when there's something moving, you'll be able to capture their attention. Okay, that's another transition that I put. So I think that's, I said that transition is the behavior of this slides. It means the change from one slide to the other. How will the change appear? How will it show cause? Okay, I think I've tried as much as possible to explain transition. Let me look out for another query or question, if any.